How'd that feel? A little freaky? Are you good with naming what you feel when you're in the moment? Like, were you going to say, I kind of felt wonder to see that, see our little blue-green dot shrink, the moon starts spinning, the sun, solar system felt, would you put another word to it? Fragile? Tiny? Yeah. Special? Kind of powerful. Let me read you something from the Bible. It's the very first part of the Bible. It's the end of the first chapter of the Bible. It's this neat story, the way that God describes how he wants us to understand creation. And it has this neat little rhythm. And then these words, and God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. And then thus the heavens and the earth were completed in their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he'd been doing. So on the seventh day, God rested from all his work. And then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he'd done. When you hear that, how do you feel? You might feel fragile and tiny, special. Here's what you are supposed to feel, or here's what God intends that you would feel when you hear those scriptures, and even when you see that video. It's hope. It's hope. Something inside of you would go, oh good, oh good. God's in control. See, when you hear the scriptures describe the creation story, it tells how God created each day. And he would call something into life. Let there be, and then it would come to be, and then God would see that it was good, and then it would finish with, it was evening and morning that day. It was evening and morning. It made you hopeful for what was coming next. It kind of felt, Dick, like Christmas morning. What's coming next, right? So here's the question for the first Sunday of Advent. We're talking about hope. What is it? You can answer this whether you've been to church once in your life or never, or 30 years. What is it that gives you hope? What gives you hope? I want to tackle hope 3 different ways this morning. The first is, what is it? What actually is hope? The second is, how do you get it if you don't have it? And then thirdly, what do you do with it once you've got it? So let's define hope. Most of the world uses the term hope in the wrong way. We say something like, I hope it snows this afternoon. Or some of you, I hope it doesn't snow this afternoon. Either way, it's a wish. That's not hope. When the Bible uses the term hope, it's this way. It's a certainty about what is about to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it is for sure going to happen. So for example, you hope that this service is not going to go on until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Right? You hope, right? You hope that you're going to be home before or for lunch, or maybe even brunch with this crowd. That's hope. You're banking on it. If this is your first time, well, you've been here before. Maybe you know us, and you know that we're not going to keep you here till 3. Carlene, we've never done this before. So you're going to get home. The roast is not going to turn to some kind of molten something, right? You're going to be okay. If you're here for the first time, you may not know me, and so your hope would be a little thinner, except a friend brought you, and you know that this friend would never, ever take you to a church where the guy's going to go on for 4 hours, so you have this hope. It's for something that hasn't happened yet, but will happen. You know this. Human beings are wired for hope. We need to have things to look forward to for what's to come. We need it. Hope is, I was thinking about it, hope is like firewood during a 3-day winter storm power outage. It's best to have a pile of that lying around before anything goes down, right? That's a better plan than you out trying to cut your neighbor's tree down in the middle of a blizzard. Get some of that hope in your life before the stuff starts to hit. Because it's possible to live your life for a while without hope, but the day will come when you'll need it. And you need real hope, the real deal. Do you know what I mean? Not some kind of leprechaun version, fingers crossed, trust your lucky stars hope. No, this is real deal, something that you know is going to happen. You believe it. So for example, Christians have hope. In my estimation, you get to contend with me on this, but we have the real deal hope. It's the hope that we're going to be resurrected after we die, that the dead will rise. Now, if you're here and you don't believe that, you're like, no, Andrew, that's a wish. See, like you're doing the wish thing now. You're making stuff up. No. A wish has no grounds. Wishes are like dreams. It's like hoping you'll win the lottery. Do you know what I mean? Hoping that the Leafs will win the Stanley Cup. Right? It's like hoping your husband, unprompted, will wash the sheets and will scrub the oven before you get back from your day away with the girls. Like that's a wish. Those are not hopes, right? While you're at it, you must be wishing for some scientific study that proves that chocolate's good for you. Yeah, keep dreaming. Hope is certain confidence. And there's a good reason why Christians believe that even after they die, they will live, that not even death can separate us from the love of God that we know in Jesus. But stick around and please ask your questions. Come back through Advent. Let's go back to the original question. What gives you hope? What gives you hope? What are you 100% confident about? Death, taxes, I know. Anything else? It's kind of tough, isn't it? Because none of us can guarantee we are going to be on the planet or alive on the planet by dinner time. We just don't have that assurance. If you're a firefighter, you know this firsthand. You have no assurance that you are going to live for the next 6 hours. So hope is not something that we can find in ourselves or not even find it in another human being. We can't guarantee that they're going to be here until supper time either. How do you get hope? Where do you find certainty? Well, the first passage of the Bible, the creation story. The Bible begins by telling us, I don't know if you felt this, but you're supposed to. The Bible begins by telling us that we're here on purpose. You are not a fluke. You're not lucky stars thing. You're not here by chance. God put us and everything else here on purpose. Creation's story is told to us like a poem. For each of the first 6 days, God says something and it comes to be, and then God looks at it and likes it. He says to himself, he sees that it's good, and then the stanza of the poem ends with, and it was evening and it was morning, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day. It's so hopeful. And then we read day 7, and the poem changes. By the 7th day, God had finished the work he'd been doing, and so on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. No more pattern. No more speaking things, let there be. None of that. It's done. No seeing it's good. No more evening and morning. It's just rest. You think, okay, what happened? Why did the poem shift? Well, here, because the creation story doesn't just tell you what you are doing here on the planet and why your existence has hope all over it, but the creation story also tells you what God's purpose is. What's God's gig? There's an Old Testament scholar, his name is John Walton, and he explains that the 7 days of creation tells the story of the beginning of life in a parallel way to an ancient world custom. Back in the day, back in the ancient world, there was a custom that when a temple was dedicated, there was 7 days set aside for the dedication process. And then when the 7 days were done, the temple was ready to be used. King Solomon did this in 1 Kings 8, if you want to take a look at it. Right? He set 7 days aside to dedicate the temple. Here's the point. 7 days is the time to dedicate the temple. So that's an interesting take on planet Earth. Because just think for a second. It's all a temple. The rocks and the trees and the mountains and the oceans. Everything that you see around you is a temple. Sometimes people get this wrong, at least in my estimation, and they think that the earth is God. We worship the earth because the earth is God. Creation is not God. Creation, the planet, the far-flung stars, these are the places for worship. These are the temple. So along with the rocks and the trees, we say to the Creator, you're totally awesome. You think about this. If you believe that God is the king of the universe, and if you believe that God made a good creation, and if you believe that God is a good king, that you live on a planet, in a solar system, in a galaxy, in the universe where the king is good, that's a great source of hope, isn't it? As opposed to being here by the flip of a coin. See, God's purpose is to be king, to rule justly and to rule wisely for the glory of his name, for the good of the kingdom. If God is on the throne, you have nothing to fear. If God isn't, if you doubt that, then you should be afraid of everything because it'll all kill you. A few years ago, one of the local high schools produced T-shirts for their leadership team. And the message on the T-shirt was intended to be hopeful. And what was on these T-shirts, front or back, I can't remember, is the universe has your back. The universe has your back. You think about that for a minute. In what way does the universe have your back? In what way can you rely on the universe? It spits asteroids at you, right? Apart from planet Earth, which is teeming with life, the universe is a bunch of flaming balls of gas and massive lifeless stones hurtling through mind-numbing expanses of dark space. The universe has your back. Saying the universe has your back is like saying Mount Vesuvius had the backs of the people living in Pompeii, who were turned to ash by molten lava in an instant when Vesuvius erupted. The universe has your back is like believing a pile of rocks in your backyard should make you sleep better at night. If you want to sleep better at night, if you want to move through your day with confident hope, lock it here. There's a God who loves you. There's a God who designed you for this. And he's put you in a place where you can live and breathe and move and give him thanks for all of his goodness. And when the passage says by the seventh day, God had finished his work that he'd been doing, and so on the seventh day he rested from all his work, it doesn't mean that God dropped exhausted in his lazy boy and said, bring me a cold one, I'm exhausted. That's not what it means. It means that everything was in place according to plan, and so now the king could be the king, can do the things that kings do, king of the universe. And so that's why there's no, and it was evening and morning, the seventh day, because that day, the day the king took the throne, is the day that has not ended. We live in this day when the king is on his throne and the king is good. So don't ask, well, what happened on the eighth day? You're missing the point. We're living in the seventh day truth. He's still king. He's still good. He's still on the throne. Can you feel hope? I hope so. Come back next week. I hope it'll get better. The issue of God being king gets pushback from us human beings. And do you know why that is? Because many of us don't like anybody over us. We chafe at it. Imagine a goldfish telling the goldfish owner, hey, we can do it ourselves. We can do it ourselves. We'll feed ourselves and we can clean ourselves. We don't need you, right? Good luck with that. Death by algae in 2 weeks. But that's basically the whole story of the Bible, is how human beings have denied God his rightful claim as our king. And then how a good king, the king of the universe, deals with us rebellious human beings in the most unexpected way. Spoiler alert, it's about Christmas. God comes. Okay, I've actually given you the beginning of the Bible, and I gave you the middle in a real blur. Let's fast forward to the end of the Bible. I'm cheating, totally cheating. I'm giving you the whole Bible in 15 minutes. At the end of the Bible, it reads like this. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. And I saw the holy city, a new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne, saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and their God. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And he who is seated on the throne says, behold, I'm making all things new. Do you feel hope? You should feel hope. That's what it's about. What's going on here? The king will come and live with us, and we will see him face to face like the disciples saw Jesus. You know, I was in conversation recently with somebody who said, why doesn't God make this easier? Why do we have to have this faith thing? Why doesn't God set up shop at Bloor and Young and have a 2-week stint where we can just go see him? And you can move on to Los Angeles and New York another time, but give us an eyes-on experience. What's with the faith thing? This is a great question. It was that way early on, and then stuff got in the way, face to face, but then stuff got in the way. But it has always been God's heart to be with us. And one day, this is what Revelation is saying, one day it'll be true again. This picture of a bride coming down out of heaven. It's us, if you want, you, believers who've been waiting for Jesus and who've been invited to live on a new earth as his bride. A new earth that's good, more beautiful even than this one. And God joining us. Don't get too freaked out about the bride picture. Like if you're a big bearded rugby guy, don't get freaked out about, I ain't nobody's bride. I get it. It's the Bible's way of trying to say it's better than you can imagine. Jesus is on the throne making all things new. That's the story, beginning and end. It's about a good king who loves you like crazy. And for all the whack things that have happened on this planet and will still happen, you are invited into this hope, a sure and certain confidence that God can be trusted. Hope, certainty. Where do you get it? God's got it. What do you do with it once you've got it? I'm going to move into this meal.